Hi, there's been a brief interlude in the storms. We've got a new storm coming along, I think in a couple of hours time. It's been raining and raining, so I thought I'd keep you updated. Following on from what Cumbrian Homestead said about young fruit trees, I'm keeping a little stock at home this year, and one of my favourites, Granny Smith, you can't go wrong. $4.99, and I've grown one successfully already over the last 4 or 5 years on the plot from good old B&M down the road. From the same people also to help pollinate my other pears at conference. Now I've taken cuttings from this variety and I'll have to see how they get on, but I wanted to have a nice more mature one of my own. And also one of my favourites they had is Opal Plum. Did a bit of research on this, and this is a cross between an early prolific and a gauge, and what a beautiful cross it made. So it's a classic cross between two varieties of plums, and although some people complain about frost getting hold of the blossom, I've not had a problem up here, and I'm 52 degrees north. It's a heavy cropper, and you have to remove about at least 1/3 of the crop to give it space to grow properly, and suffer some canker, but you know I'm onto it. And lastly but not leastly, this was bought, it was already in blossom, it was bursting out of the bag, and it's a Doyon du Comice. So there's my little backups. These are all going to be grown in large tubs for this year at home, and of course I will give them plenty of horse manure in the actual compost. Around the garden this year I've been using a lot of liquid seaweed concentrate. You just put a bit of it in a capful. I put it in about 4.5 litres, and I've been going around every couple of days because at home my plants are very crowded in the garden, and I've got all sorts of things like quinces, etc., and crab apples, and a lot of blackthorn as well, and they've needed the feed. They've looked a lot better for it. The cuttings that have worked include the pyracantha, and that's down to advice from other people on YouTube. And you can see also fennel, which I divided, and I put in at least 3 divisions of it. There's 1, 2 and another little one over there on the edge. They've all taken very well. No, 4 actually. They've taken very well. So obviously fennel does work by division. I actually just divided the root up. Just past the parsley there, there is 2 cuttings, or there are 2 cuttings, which are Mirabelle. Now they were taken straight greenwood, took them last November. Both of them you can see are in bud. If I just zoom in a bit there, you can see they're in bud, so they're both alive. And obviously Mirabelle being more of a wild plum, I didn't use root hormone powder on these. I just wanted to know if they'd take, and they have. And I've got 2 or 3 in the front garden. I really love the fact they blossom very early. I mean, these won't blossom early till next year, but on my plot they will do. Poundland and Wilco Cell Vermiculite. I got this from Poundland for £1, of course. I bought 3 lots of it, comes in 5 litres, and I'm going to be using it for the seedlings. I've started off with some of my seedlings indoors already. The main thing is the fact that it's too cold outdoors, the soil temperature. I noticed some people on the allotment are putting black bags, long black plastic sheets over the soil, and they keep it covered until right till the end of March, early April. Good idea, because I believe it warms the soil up. It's all about soil temperature, isn't it, for seedlings? This rock rose cutting is very happy, and it's basically just taken, I took about a dozen of them. I love the rock rose. It's got beautiful white roses, and here in the Midlands in England it grows fantastically. It is a wild and native plant to England as well. Nice to see a sea of blossom there. This is red currant. It's out a little bit early this year. I know it may not look very spectacular, but this is a variety of rhubarb I've coveted for quite a few years. Always caught it out of season, either on discount and dying, or just missed it. But this year I've got a specimen, and it's Holsteiner Red, and it's an early variety. It's very vigorous, and these were literally bursting out of the little plastic pack with the crowns. I chose one with a very heavy crown and lots of roots. It's filled this bowl, and this was on discount from Blue Diamond Garden Centre, £2.99. My primroses have really enjoyed having liquid feed. It's a great little secret, isn't it, to put a bit of liquid feed all over your garden. Don't overdo it. The cuttings have taken very well, seem to have been my, again, wild roses and also some standard roses, as you can see. And there's some honeysuckle there. This one here, that's definitely taken. I love having some honeysuckle growing up around the door. Bumblebees love it. And another rose there. Here we have the honeyberry plant. This is in too much sun at the moment last year, but I'm keeping it here and I'll move it more into the shade once it's established. And at the back of that, you can see I've got my fig cuttings here, and there's even a little figlet on one of these. And I've also been following the instructions given by Cumbrian Homestead about nipping out the leaders here. And we've got some more honeyberry there. On the side of my house I've got one pear tree which does surprisingly well. It's because it's not in full sun, and at the moment it's benefiting from the spraying program. I used a little bit of dilute vinegar when it was dormant, just 2 sets of sprays, and as you can see it's looking far more healthy. I took all the old cankerous stuff out. Lemon balm seems to thrive, doesn't it? And because I've got one in the garden, it spreads itself all around. I love the stuff. I said to you earlier about Mirabelle, and there's more of it. In fact, I've got 3 of them growing here. The stuff just roots beautifully. One of them's gone into blossom this year. That's good. Just in front of my twisted hazel, this is probably the most successful of my fig cuttings I took from a parent plant in my garden. Again, these have been fed a lot this year, a lot more than last year. I really am trying to get something out of them. I'm using the Doff liquid seaweed and also their general purpose liquid feed. Twisted hazel is quite a pricey plant at my garden centre. I bought this one as a very small plant, and I got it, I believe, from a garden centre, but only as a very small plant. They had an offer on very small plants in pots, so I've had it many years. It's been one of my favourites. It's so spooky, such a beautiful architecturally structured plant. I can't remember having any fruit off it. While I'm here, it's probably worth capturing the almond blossom because it could well come off in the next storm. I pruned this tree heavily last year, but as you can see it is beautiful. I'll just zoom in there a bit for you. Zoom back. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Now this is what I love, and this is when you get some sloe or blackthorn, which is where this is in blossom. This is a baby from the Quince Sidonia, and I'm happy to say it's got some suckers as well. The rhubarb crowns which I bought a lot earlier, which are Canadian red and also some Valentine reds, have done extremely well. There's one Victoria as well, and I basically potted them right in the depths of winter. I was a little bit worried about how they'd get on. As you can see, the slugs have started a little bit on one of them, but they're not that attractive to slugs once they get going, rhubarb. That's a good thing about it, so you don't really have to intervene much. All ready for growing some more elderflower drinks and making some elderberry drinks. I've got my elder cuttings. This stuff grows beautifully around here, and if you prune it properly, it won't be too unruly even in an ordinary garden. This year's compost and manure includes also a special deal, country natural composted stable manure, and you got a deal on this one. I got 5 packs in a deal. I think it was about 16 quid for 5 packs, and I've gone from Miracle Grow as well, and this is the multi-purpose Wilco compost. It's upside down at the moment, and I also got some tomato packs because I'm going to be growing some very small compact tomatoes. But the other thing I'm doing is, before I'm planting the seeds, I'm bringing the compost indoors for a couple of days to warm it up first, because it's still extremely cold. One of my canemoles, oh, got it right then, is actually in blossom at the moment. That's a red one. And this one here is more orangey, and it's only just starting, and it hasn't opened yet properly, the buds. Luckily, my thornless blackberry seems to have survived the winter, and I've taken a cutting also from ones in the garden. That looks alive, and I think this one, yeah, there's a bud on there, it should be alive. Everybody likes a nice surprise, and this is a rootstock which survived the parent, if you like, plant that grows in the roots, and then of course you have the graft and the fruit tree grows on top. The fruit tree died, so I kept this. Not quite sure what it's going to grow into. I'd love it if it blossomed. I mean, it could be wild plum or something, couldn't it? And the same again with this other rootstock here. Don't know what they'll be. They look fruit tree-ish. Perhaps they're a quince or something. But anyway, let's see. This shy little plant, believe it or not, is an aronia or a chokeberry. They are edible, but oh my goodness, are they full of tannins. They really give you a kick. But I've got 2 or 3 of these, 2 on the allotment and 1 at home, and it's very spindly if I just pan out from that. And it sort of grows among my red currants, well, red currant bushes, which are not red currant as in fruit, but just the red currant flower bushes. There's one there at the back there, as you can see. Crikey, this wind is really howling by up there. Nice to see a bit of blue. If you do see these for sale in your garden centre, make sure you get hold of one. It's called a filbert, and it's a type of hazelnut, and it's a good pollinating partner for Kentish cob. Since I've had them in my garden, the squirrels eat them, but in order to make more food for themselves, they also plant the hazelnut, so I get loads and loads of them. I've even tried growing it myself from the actual hazelnuts. So far, they haven't come up yet. The squirrels seem to be better at it than I do. I've got a little pear tree in the front garden as well. This one's a bit more sort of gnarled looking, it's a bit more facing into the elements, but I think it likes this spot. I haven't sprayed this one because I want to see how they fare on their own in my garden. But like I say, I've been using a lot of liquid feed this year. I'm trying to give the plants a bit more boost to try and boost their immune system. And at the back of that you can see I've got some of my soft fruits. That's red currants, there's some white currants nestling there underneath the plum trees. And also I like to grow my blackberries. I mean, blackberries at this time of year in my garden have been cut right down. I'll try and show you some. Yeah, there's some there. As you can see, I've cut it right down, but it fights back, of course. Nestled here and hidden by a giant plastic bag that normally has wood shavings for my guinea pigs is my lovely little horseradish. Hopefully it's not little anymore, it's in a massive tub, as you can see. It's now, well, 2-3 years old. I've not taken a crop from it. And around them I've put other pots which I've got some seeds in, which I've left outside, but I'm trying to see whether they'll grow. These are globe artichoke seeds, but I'm going to grow some indoors as well, get some going as well. But the horseradish, well, she's safe and warm from the storm. Saved my passion flowers, my passiflora. I took cuttings and I also put a very juvenile specimen indoors. It seemed to have worked. They don't seem to overwinter up here in the Midlands very well. I mean, you may be lucky to have a sheltered spot. Mine, I don't have much shelter. So here we have, this one here has grown mad on my window, and that's a cutting which I showed earlier in another video. I just took a cutting and it grew roots in water, and now it's going mad, as you can see as well. So I'm very happy. I do love passion flower. Next to it there you have got a globe artichoke, and I got this as a sort of a corm. 2 of them. One of them I put outside, and one of them I've let thrive inside. It keeps throwing up leaves, and they sort of fall and die off. And this, when the soil temperature is warm enough, can go on the plot. Like I said earlier, soil temperature is crucial. It probably won't be till late April or May that it's warm enough to transplant seedlings where I live. I'm hoping that 2019 will be the first year I'll get a grip on growing kiwi. Don't expect any fruit this year, but I've got 2 of these. I got them from Morrison's, I believe. I got these some months ago, 2 months ago, and I've just kept them indoors. I always put the light on at night time. Next to them there's a lamp there, as you can see, and I always have them close to the light during the daytime, and they've thrived. I've also had 2 kiwi which I've overwintered outside, and I've got some seeds which are Jenny, and they are self-fertile. A few of my seedlings have come up this year by the window. These are some rhubarb seedlings. They're Glaskins perpetual, and they've taken about, oh, I'd say nearly 2 weeks to come up. I'm not too happy with the quality of my compost here, and following advice and looking at what other people have done, including Allotmental, I'm going to be making a mixture from Wilco's seed compost and vermiculite for my next lot of seedlings. Now that is a quintessential British scene there, isn't it? You've got your church spire. This one's 14th century, built 50 years before the Great Plague came, so it's 14th century. Amazing. And the stone came from a place called Ancaster, which is a long way away near the Wash in Lincolnshire. They brought it right across. I believe they would have put it onto barges, but also by cart, obviously, from the river up to here to build it. Amazing architecture. As you can see, the clouds scudding across in between the fronts. We've got another storm coming. This is beautiful quince, and it's a quince Sidonia. I believe a rock band called Muse had a song called Knights of Sidonia, but it's basically from the Middle East quince, and they are one of the sort of parent plants that belong to the pear family. And of course you can eat quinces. I use them for air freshness as well, but I have made quince jelly. Sometimes it gives a very heavy crop, but sometimes the birds pick off the blossom, and that's fine, because nature needs to survive. Oh, it does look foreboding, doesn't it? There's the almond blossom being battered. In fact, one of the weather people made us laugh, made Jane and me laugh the other week. They said that the weather was basically, we were going to be pounded into next week, and I could say the same about this week, I think. Looking at the way this storm's developing, just pan out for you there. It's a belter. That's about it from me, so I'll keep in touch with you all about how things are getting on in the garden and down the allotment. Just thought I'd sort of catch in between the storms and tell you what I've been up to on plans. Well, I'm about to tuck into the last of my birthday cake. A little message on it. Hope it's an improvement on last year's disaster, it says. Love and kisses from Jane. Happy birthday, Mike. Blah, 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 blah. Years old. Sorry, no, young today. How many years am I? Oh, not that old. Surely not. Well, I forgot to mention, it's triple sponge cake. Not double, but triple sponge cake. On springform tins, I'm reliably formed. Absolute lashings of buttercream. The joke was, when I was a kid, I said I couldn't stand butter and I was allergic to it. And my aunt and my mum, when they made cakes, used to put lashings of buttercream on, probably half a kilogram of buttercream. And I told everyone, oh, I can't stand butter. But never mind. There's a way around, kids, aren't there? And it's got homemade blackcurrant jam from our allotment. And on the top, there's some walnuts, I think. More buttercream. And, of course, a nice dusting of icing sugar. We'll go down a treat with a nice cup of tea. I like my cup of tea really strong, so stiff you could stand a spoon in it.